It's such a pleasure to be with you, Ville Tavio. You're a minister of international trade and development in Finland. And we were just bonding over the fact that your hometown, a city really, is Turku, uh, a place I happened to have gone. I had the great pleasure of going there probably 20 years ago and very much enjoyed your beautiful hometown. It's a beautiful place.
Oh, that's so nice to hear. And I mean, not too many people have visited there, so feel welcome to come to Turku.
Thank you. I had a great visit. This is when Devex was first starting. I was trying to, talk to people who knew more about global development than I certainly did. And now you're in an interesting position
Yeah.
for many reasons. I want to talk to you. I mean, one is you're a minister, obviously, of trade and development, but I want to talk about the development part. Also, you come from a conservative party, and conservative parties are really ascendant in many places around the world, in the global north, a lot of the donor countries, and maybe have a different view about development. And so I kind of want to get your take on what that is. In fact, your party, maybe you tell me if I'm wrong. Can I describe it as sort of a Finland First in the way people who have heard of an America First
Yeah.
approach? Is that fair? Is
Yes,
that how you think
absolutely.
about it?
Absolutely. I would say that it aligns definitely more with the Republicans than the Democrats, but it's not comparable. But yes, it's somewhat like a Finland First a party, definitely.
And we'll get more into that, but let's just start with you and your story. So, um, you're from Turku, we mentioned. How did you get started in politics? How did this career begin for you?
I was a court attorney, a solicitor, and I worked on my own so I was a small entrepreneur and small business entrepreneur, and there were several things happening in Finland that I was kind of concerned about, and when I got interested to go into being a candidate. We have a multi-party system, so you have many different parties. Basically, you have like eight, nine parties to choose from in Finland. So I chose this party, the Patriot Party, and I've been quite satisfied with my choice, and I think we've been quite right in many things.
Your party has really grown since when you chose it was probably
Yeah.
a much smaller political party than it is now. And I think you caught a wave that has happened around the world, really, right? That parties like yours have been doing better and better. Yeah.
Yes, we are now the second largest party, so it was very close for us being the biggest, but we are now the vice prime minister party, so we have a government of two big parties and two smaller ones. So it's a party of four, uh, government of four parties.
And your party holds several seats in the several ministerial cabinets. Is that right?
We have out from the 19 uh, 5 or 6 seats, yes, we are the second largest in the parliament, so we have 200 seat parliament. So we have a huge, big group of MPs too.
And was this role, which is obviously very international in nature, was it one that you sought for and you fought for, or was it something you were surprised and said, "I'm going to learn about trade and development"? Tell me the backstory to this
So,
role for you.
well, for this position, I was for the past 4 years. I was the parliamentary group leader, uh, so-called group whip in some countries,
Yeah.
but I was the group leader, and as a group leader, you basically in opposition, you are pretty in the very center of all the political campaigning and all the work that's done in the parliament. So that was maybe this is like a good job. I did a too good job, so we became a government party as well.
Yeah, be careful.
What I should have taken it easier. I just to the Social Democrats. But no, I was member at the same time for the past 4 years before this government. I was a member in the Foreign Affairs Committee. That's partly one of the reasons I'm here in this position, as this is positioned in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Okay. Now, this week in Davos happens to coincide with Donald Trump's inauguration, as you know. A lot of people, probably in our audience and people who are here, are very concerned about it, and partly because it's the same kind of trend your party and others have advanced. And he has probably similar ideas, you tell me, about cutting foreign aid, kind of a skepticism about the UN, the international organizations. What is your view? Because you're in an interesting role where maybe you come with those perspectives, but you're also now a minister for these issues. What is your take about global development, the way it works today?
Oh, so that's a big question actually. So, I mean, no, we have big differences, and I think there's you have to of course differentiate what kind of rhetoric you use and what's the reality there. But we are a small country, so we kind of heavily believe in the multilateral cooperation. We have a very traditional development cooperation, and I mean we done lots of good, and it has gotten better over the years. Not only with this government, but we have done budget cuts because of we had a budget deficit. So that's why we have also made budget cuts to developing aid. But I don't think people are on either on the conservative side. They are not like that hostile against international cooperation. I think that's something that has been kind of maybe made a little bit too black and white on
Okay.
some. So I don't think everyone, even though there's like a rhetoric always that okay, they are like right wing parties and they don't want to do like international cooperation or whatever. But I don't think it's like that at all. I think we are democratic parties who are democratically also trying to use our power that's given from the people also in the international organizations trying to make better development policies and all this. But I do think we'll always come to realization that we are all are dependent on each other. Western countries, we need each other, but we need everyone in the world as
Mhm.
well.
Yeah, at the same time, as you say, it's kind of a time of austerity. There are budget deficits across Europe. The European Commission itself is pulling back in its own aid. And Devex has been reporting recently about their plans to maybe remove or reduce the countries where they have delegations.
Okay.
I mean, what is your take about the need for cuts versus the actual needs that exist in the world? Humanitarian needs, development needs. How do you think about balancing that?
Well, they are huge, so we do encourage everyone to take part in developing cooperation, and especially humanitarian uh, needs in the crisis that we have too many currently. So of course, best would be to have less crisis. That's of course the first, and now that we did get the ceasefire in the Israeli-Gaza conflict, of course we are hopeful that also kind of Ukraine war would come to its end, and Russia would step back from that attacking Ukraine. But it doesn't maybe look very good right now. But we always have tomorrow, so we'll have to be hopeful too. But maybe our key takes to the question are that we are trying to use companies more, private mobilize private funding. And I mean there's an old saying in we use it in Finnish, but probably it's the same in English language, where you kind of if a man is hungry, you don't give him fish, but you instead taught him how to fish. So this is I think an ideology that conservatives share a bit. So we are very we stress that we want the developing projects to have a long lasting impacts. We want them to create jobs, and I think this is similar that people in developing countries actually need. So it doesn't have to be like uh, and hopefully it is not anymore, but giving money to foreign budget and like this. So I think we can do it much more efficiently, and this said, I think we are going to the right path. So it's a long process, but I think the developing policies are getting stronger.
How about Russia's invasion of Ukraine? Has that affected the way you do development cooperation, or where you do it, or what kinds of things you fund?
Yes. Ukraine is currently our priority, so it is our biggest partner in development cooperation, and we have especially budgeted money to Ukraine. which we use in several ways on humanitarian help and also rebuilding and of course giving the necessities. We do many things there. Our second largest partner is currently Ethiopia, more traditional partner, but at the same time we are looking more to take our companies to and let them work in the developing countries. So I think we have good examples. Just to mention few, what happened in Vietnam, how they developed, and I think Kenya is maybe the next good example of how you can develop. And there will always be those crown stones of development. So okay, of course you will need education. You need before that you need like clean water, basic needs, and then the other grounds like education. But I think we have to focus more on taking the companies, creating jobs, and trying to build industrialization, build up trade rules, give them those possibilities to grow. Because there is the main thing that I think why Vietnam has graduated is because they have learned how to take care of themselves. So you have to be ready to industrialize country and then also of course to collect the taxes by yourselves and take those steps. You do need a lot of stuff before those steps, but we kind of think that the process of development can be speed up from the experiences we basically have from the countries that have developed rapidly. And Finland also was a developing country once, and it's we developed because we actually had created those big industries, even though it was done with debt money, but it was mostly because we already created shipbuilding industries 100, 200 years ago. We are still the largest shipbuilders in the world.
Is that right? I didn't know that.
Yes. Have you been in a Caribbean cruise with the Royal?
I have never been in one, but I've seen those ships.
Like those the Royal Caribbean cruise line, for example. Those biggest cruisers of the world, they are built right next to my home at Turku.
Okay. I remember seeing some of those ships when I was in Turku, and I remember getting in the ferry.
Yeah.
I took the ferry from Finland, and those gigantic ships. I didn't realize that's a real Finnish export.
It's a good export product, but we have many.
Okay.
This is one of the interesting ones. And like we spoke about Turku, my home city, the only places, a few places in the world where people have known what Turku is actually on these Caribbean cruise line boats, because some of the biggest ones are made in Turku.
Very nice. Yeah, well, I'll have to take one of those cruises so I can testify to how good the ships are. Let me just ask you one or two more questions because I know I have to get you back to this conference. Just thinking about some of the big news people are talking about this week, Donald Trump has already said they're going to pull out of the WHO. And we don't know yet, but he might do something similar or really reduce U.S. funding for other multilateral agencies, which you say you support. Many of the other conservative parties in Europe you think support too. Should we expect governments in Europe to sort of fill the gap that might be left by the U.S.? Maybe not entirely, given how big the gap can be, but do you expect that you will do more for the WHO, say this year, or for other UN agencies this coming year? What do you think?
Well, I don't think you can fill the gap just like that on these organizations. So probably many organizations will just have to concentrate on doing better job with less funds. I guess that's the reality then. But from Finland's point of view, we also think that the military expenses, for example, should be actually we should rise them up. So I think there are many things that we can start also try to fund more. But on the development policy side, I think just be careful and let's keep on doing the work of the private funding as well. So we do need the private funding and the companies, and I mean you need to leverage funds to get companies excited about developing countries. That's a reality. But I think it's pretty doable, and after all, there are many constantly encouraging examples that these countries actually do develop. So it's important word, and it's on everyone's favor, but you can make it a win-win and try to create those equal partnerships.
Maybe just one last question. I mentioned this earlier, but probably a lot of our audience is concerned about the move to more conservative parties in Europe, and of course in the U.S. with the election of Donald Trump and what it's going to mean for global development. You sort of said, look, our parties actually believe in the multilateral system. I guess, what are some of the things that you think might be misunderstood by people in the global development community that you can help explain to them? Because there's a lot of fear when they see, let's say, the German elections coming up and AfD doing very well, or in France, the parties there doing well of Le Pen. Like, how should they feel about those issues, given the work and the priorities they have on the global South?
Okay, so it's a tough question because first of all, the parties in European countries too are quite different. So you can never say like this party is the same as that one. And I mean, well, our closest party is probably like the Swedish Democrats in Sweden, but it's not like I don't have a I have no. I cannot comment how like AFD, what would they do? I have no idea. But on the big picture, I think something that the multilateral organization and the UN organizations maybe should learn is I know they don't want to like self-reflect the situations too much, but sometimes you have to ask yourselves why to do the conservative parties, why do they like oppose this and this, and what? So it's I think it's a genuine question. Like, has these organizations do people see them as turning out to be like a liberal vehicles? So I think it's a genuine question, and I always kind of consider because actually if you look at our values, we have in the Western world we have very shared common values, despite whether you are usually like left wing or right wing. The social media and all this stuff makes it look like we are like on the war with each other, but that's a very untrue thing actually, because we are. Mostly most of the stuff we agree that just doesn't make any good click news or click headlines. So I think many organizations should kind of also uh, try to also get closer to conservative side. And if you think like for example, like we are big on the women's rights, and I think like Christian conservatives all around the world, they value women's right. I think one of the main reasons that the Western society has such strong women's right is actually based on Christianity and Christian values. So kind of like you can build up and kind of try to also bring these parties together. Uh, and now I think the situation is there is indeed the problem that the conservatives see them serving only like the other side, and then they think it's their political enemies. So then the organization becomes one as well, but shouldn't be like that. And I know that we in Finland, and I can say this as a conservative politician myself, we are trying to build bridges instead of burning them.
Hmm. Okay. Well, that is a very helpful perspective. And like I said, a lot of our audience, I think, is interested in hearing that and understanding it better. So thank you for taking some time here on the sidelines of this event. And I know this is your first meeting here at the World Economic Forum, so I hope it's going really well. And it's been a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you. Good to be here, and thanks for the nice interview.
Thanks.